Lin Xiao was reborn with the 1 million who smashed him to death. Since heaven favors him so much, let's live a wonderful life for him. Consumer electronics, the internet, chips. These high-tech industries are not spared, and we are determined to make China's high-tech industry stand on the top of the tide. Those capital that clung to Huaxia technology companies in their past lives and sucked blood, get out of the way. Keywords of the novel. I was reborn without a pop-up window with 1 million words. I was reborn with 1 million words to download the complete TXT collection, and I was reborn with 1 million words to read the latest chapters. Chapter 1. Reborn with a million. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Reborn with a million. Now in 1998, I already have 1 million. Sitting on the bed, Lin Xiao held a few bundles of money in each hand, and then looked at the large box of money in front of him, feeling happy in his heart. Lin Xiaozhong was an editor for a second-rate website before his death. One day, he came across a message on his social media that someone had found a large amount of cash in the box left by his grandfather while selling an old house. Lin Xiaozhong went to the scene as soon as possible to track a hot topic. Unexpectedly, as soon as I arrived downstairs, I ran into someone who was robbing me. The robber and the people who posted on my social media were in a fight and threw the box containing money from the window to the downstairs. It was so deadly that it hit me on the head. Hanged up and was smashed to death by money. I went to track the hotspots, but I didn't expect to become one. Feeling a bit overwhelmed with tears and laughter, this was Lin Xiao's first thought after being reborn. Then I felt a bit confused and grateful. However, all these emotions disappeared when they discovered that the money box was right beside them. At that time, the person said that this box was still left in the house in 1995. Is this money also from 1995? Lin Xiao opened the box with anticipation and excitement, and indeed saw a box full of banknotes. There were two types, one was the fourth edition of the 100 yuan face value Huaxia coin, and the other was the 100 yuan face value Xiangjiang coin issued in 1995. Seeing this, Lin Xiao couldn't help but give a thumbs up to the top. God is kind. This old version of Chinese currency has long ceased to circulate in later generations, but it is now circulating. If you bring the new version of banknotes, you actually have nowhere to use them. After all, the country has not officially issued them yet. But this is an old version of paper currency, so it can be used directly. Xiangjiang coin is a bit troublesome. After all, Xiangjiang coin is not a circulating currency in mainland China. If it is small, you can exchange it with the bank, but if it is large, it would be too eye-catching to take to the bank. But it's not a big problem. Can you still not know how to spend money? And these days, Xiangjiang coins are even more valuable than Huaxia coins. Counting the quantities, Lin Xiao discovered that there were 100,000 Huaxia coins and 900,000 Xiangjiang coins. In 1998, the exchange rate between Xiangjiang coin and Huaxia coin was definitely over 1. Lin Xiao no longer remembers the specific exchange rate, but even if it was calculated at 900,000 yuan. The sum of these two types of money exceeds 1 million. 1 million. Even in 2021, it is still a considerable amount for the average family. And now it's 1998, and pork is still 3 yuan per kilogram. Lin Xiao became more and more excited, thinking about how much pork can be eaten with this 1 million yuan. I was wrong. With this 1 million yuan and the information I have, there are too many things I can do. Bang! The sound of the motorcycle suddenly rang out in the yard. It's my parents who have come back. Lin Xiao quickly put the money back into the box and was about to put it under the bed. After some thought, he took out all the 100,000 Chinese coins and only stuffed the temporarily unusable Xiangjiang coins into the bed. Lin Xiao divided the 100,000 Chinese coins he took out into two halves, of which 50,000 yuan was hidden. Another 50,000 yuan, I simply packed it in a bag and opened the drawer of the table to put it in. This 50,000 yuan, I have to use it first to improve my family. During this period, my parents should have been going to the construction site from dawn to dusk. In the previous life, my mother had been in poor health due to overwork in recent years. In 2009, she passed away due to a sudden myocardial infarction and failed to receive medical treatment in the hospital. She was only 48 years old. After my mother left, the whole family suddenly collapsed, and my father was unhappy and passed away due to illness in 2016. It is precisely because there were changes in the family around the critical time points of 30 and 35 that I missed the best age to get married and have children. Even though I have talked about several girlfriends and even been in the limelight, I am still alone at the age of 40. Since being reborn once means having a chance to make a new choice, both oneself and parents have a chance to change their destiny. In this life, we must live a more exciting life and make our parents live better. Lin Xiao couldn't wait to walk to the gate. In the yard, there was a figure that Lin Xiao had been longing for. His father, Lin Xiao, was still sitting on a motorcycle, and his mother, Lu Longjun, had already gotten off the car. Facing his parents again, Lin Xiao, with mixed emotions, was momentarily stunned and didn't know how to speak up. Lu Longjun also saw Lin Xiao and asked first, "Xiao, how did you estimate your score today?" Listening to his mother's affectionate voice, Lin Xiao felt his eyes heating up. The most profound memory left by Lin Xiao's mother in her mind was her face, which had been haggard due to various illnesses in the years before she left. At this moment, he suddenly saw his mother's gentle face, which was more than 10 years younger, appear in front of him, and his throat couldn't help but tighten. Taking a gentle breath, Lin Xiao calmed down his soon-to-lose control emotions, not wanting Lu Longjun to notice anything unusual. "Mom." 1,000 words and countless thoughts converged into a trembling word that trembled on both lips. Mother and son were connected, and Lu Longjun seemed to notice something. She immediately asked with concern, "What's wrong, Xiao? Is it estimated? Should I have fallen on my way home after finishing the college entrance examination score assessment just now?" As Lin Xiao thought, he immediately realized how to explain his emotional fluctuations at the moment. "Mom, I estimated it to be between 540 and 550. Lin Xiao remembers very clearly that his estimated score was only around 500, which was close to his usual level. However, because there were already many liberal arts subjects without standard answers, and he unexpectedly performed exceptionally well in the college entrance examination, this score was very inaccurate. In fact, his final score in the college entrance examination was 553 points. So his answer was based on this score. "Really?" Lu Longjun exclaimed immediately upon hearing this, "This is dozens of points higher than your usual exams." As she spoke, she happily turned her head to look at Lin Xiao, who had just parked the car. "Dajuan, Xiao said he estimated it to be 545. Okay. Okay." Lin Xiao gave Lin Xiao a deep glance, said 2 good words in a row, opened his mouth, but didn't say anything else afterwards. At this time, Lin Xiao was not getting old, unlike his mother who had passed away in the previous life, reminding him of everything he liked. However, even so, Lin Xiao truly felt the joy in the hearts of her parents, and Lu Longjun even said she wanted to stir-fry 2 better dishes. Parents are like this. When they know they are doing better than usual, they are immediately overjoyed. Lin Xiao still remembers that when they checked their scores in the previous life, they seemed extremely excited. However, in this year's college entrance examination, they still filled out their preferences based on their estimated scores. At that time, because their estimated scores were not accurate, they did not dare to fill in any better schools. For a long time, their parents still felt a bit disappointed. "In this life, I will try my best to make up for my regrets. Mom." Lin Xiao stopped Lu Longjun as she was about to walk towards the kitchen. "You guys take a break, I'll go cook." Lu Longjun was stunned for a moment, and then a relieved look appeared in her eyes. She waved her hand and said, "It's okay. There was not much work on the construction site today, so it wasn't tiring. I'll stir-fry 2 dishes quickly. Yes, Lin Xiao, you can go watch TV and your mother and I will prepare the food. Lin Xiao followed suit and the two of them headed towards the kitchen. Lin Xiao looked at the back of his parents, their clothes covered in dust from the construction site. His mother's hair was covered in dust from the construction site, which looked somewhat gray. On his father's arm, there seemed to be a long wound with blood scabs. We can't let our parents suffer like this anymore. Lin Xiao turned around and quickly walked back to the room, taking out the 50,000 yuan that had just been packed in a bag. When he walked outside the kitchen, the sound of his parents talking immediately reached his ears. "Dajuan, don't you usually go into the kitchen? Do you have something to say? Jane, starting from tomorrow, you can cook more dishes in the morning and prepare your son's lunch. The two of us will be at the construction site at noon and don't come back. Let's work more. With this score, he will definitely be able to go to college. We need to make more money quickly, and prepare for tuition and living expenses in advance. Okay, Dajuan, you should wake up early tomorrow morning to buy some meat and bring pork ribs. Take advantage of this summer vacation to supplement Xiao's health, and I don't know how to eat at school." A hot current surged from his heart to his eyes, and Lin Xiao quickly walked into the kitchen, facing the two people. "Mom and Dad, don't go to the construction site anymore." Seeing Lin Xiao walking in, the Lin Xiao couple, who were originally discussing, immediately stopped talking. Lu Lanjun smiled and said, "You child, what's wrong with going to the construction site? Your father and I are at the age of working. If we don't go to work, what do we eat at home? Besides, you study." Cough. Lin Xiao coughed lightly, and Lu Lanjun immediately reacted, stopping her words and not saying anything further. "Dad, I know you're worried about my college tuition fees." Before Lin Xiao could finish speaking, Lin Xiao interrupted directly and said, "Money is our adults' business. Don't worry, you little child. No, listen to me." Lin Xiao simply pulled open the bag in her hand and exposed 5 bundles of 10,000 yuan inside. "I have money. I really want to be smashed to death by your collection and tickets." End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Let's do business at home. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Let's do business at home. This. Lin Xiao and Lu Lanjun were stunned as they looked at the thick stack of money in Lin Xiao's hand. It wasn't until Lin Xiao spoke again that they realized it. "Mom and Dad, I have money here. All the tuition and living expenses are enough. Don't go to the construction site anymore." "Lin Xiao, where did you get this money from?" Lin Xiao did not expect his parents' joy and excitement to appear, and the faces of Lin Xiao and Lu Lanjun both became very nervous at this moment. After Lin Xiao finished speaking in a low voice, Lu Lanjun immediately looked at Lin Xiao with an anxious face and said, "Yes, Xiao, how could you have so much money?" This was in 1998, an era when a normal person's working salary was only around 500 to 1,000 yuan. Lin Xiao, a newly graduated rural high school student, suddenly took out tens of thousands of yuan. "It's too scary. This kid from my own family is not going to do anything illegal, is he?" Looking at the stack of money in Lin Xiao's hand, this was the only thought in the hearts of Lin Xiao and his wife. Lin Xiao quickly realized what his parents were worried about and explained, "Don't worry, Mom and Dad, I earned this money myself." "Did you earn it yourself? How did you earn so much money?" Lin Xiao looked incredulous. "Internet." Lin Xiao casually gave an excuse. "It's the computer, you know. I designed a website for an internet company on the computer. This is the reward. I found an internet as a shield. For one thing, my parents are not familiar with this content. For another, Lin Xiao, a simple website, can do it. For another, I am familiar with the development of the internet. I am sure I will set foot in this field in my life. Sure enough, after Lin Xiao finished speaking, both Lin Yijuan and Lu Longjun looked bewildered. Lin Yijuan still asked with a puzzled expression, "What have you done? What kind of website can send you money? I think it's rare." Lin Xiao continued to talk, and then began to popularize simple internet knowledge with his parents, not forgetting to give some examples of getting rich. In just a few years since its establishment, Yahoo has a market value of several billion yuan. In China, there is a person who has developed an email and sells one set at a time, earning tens of thousands for each set sold. After Lin Xiao's explanation, although Lin Yijuan and Lu Longjun still had doubts on their faces, their expressions looked much better. At least they know that Lin Xiao did not do anything illegal. While urging Lin Xiao to quickly save the money, Lu Longjun continued to cook. Taking advantage of this time, Lin Xiao also began to consider how to persuade her parents not to go to the construction site. It is obvious that even if I put out this 50,000 yuan myself, the two of them may just not work hard like that, but they should not go to the construction site unless I use this 50,000 yuan to make a living for them. By dinner time, Lin Yijuan and his wife had basically accepted the reality that Lin Xiao had already earned 50,000 yuan. Not only did his son perform exceptionally well in the college entrance examination, but he was also able to earn a lot of money, which undoubtedly made them extremely happy. After sitting at the dinner table, Lu Longjun's smile in the corner of her eyes never stopped. When Lin Yijuan smoked, his posture seemed to be a bit comfortable. After finishing dinner and putting down the dishes, Lin Xiao immediately said, "Mom and Dad, let's do some business at home. Don't go to the construction site to work." Doing business. Lu Longjun was somewhat surprised when she heard Lin Xiao's words. Lin Xiao nodded and said, "With this 50,000 yuan, we should have enough capital to open a store in Huaxia." Lin Yijuan, who was smoking, immediately waved his hand and said, "This money will be kept for your school use, so you don't have to worry too much about family matters. Dad, this money is not disposable, there's more to come." Also. Upon hearing Lin Xiao's words, Lin Yijuan was immediately taken aback. 50,000 yuan was already a lot, but there was still something left. Ignoring Lin Yijuan's doubts, Lin Xiao continued to persuade, "Dad, Mom, you guys have to work hard and physically on the construction site every day to earn a few dollars. We can use this money to do some business in the town. Not only is it not tiring, but it also earns a lot. Look at how good things have been outside in recent years, they are all doing business." Lin Yijuan and Lu Longjun were both moved by Lin Xiao's words. Working hard on the construction site was just to make a living. If there were other livelihoods, who would not be moved? Lin Yijuan and Lu Longjun exchanged a glance, and Lu Longjun asked with some uncertainty, "But what are we doing?" "A small supermarket." Lin Xiao replied that in 1998, there was no real supermarket in Xinxian, let alone Haofeng Township. However, Lin Xiao does remember that in another year or two, models of supermarkets will begin to appear in both the county and Huaxia, but they will all be named after a supermarket, without the appearance of a real supermarket. Lin Xiao also didn't want to open a too formal supermarket, which would require too much capital unless he monetized that box of Xiangjiang coins. Before he thought of a comprehensive method, Lin Xiao didn't want to take the risk of doing this, and he couldn't explain the origin of such a large amount of money to his parents. "Just finding a livelihood for my parents and opening a small supermarket in Huaxia is enough. After all, I am about to go to college, and if it gets too big, my parents won't be able to handle it without experience." As for running a small supermarket, Lin Xiao believes that his parents can still do it. His father, Lin Yijuan, has served in the military. Although he has retired from the military, he has been working on construction sites in various places in recent years and has some vision. And her mother Lu Longjun also attended elementary school. She used to work as an accountant in the government office in Huaxia for a period of time, but because she was not a formal worker, she was later replaced by someone related to her. Moreover, a small supermarket does not necessarily mean that one does not make money. In the previous life, the person who first opened a supermarket in Huaxia was in the neighboring village of Lin Xiao. Because of their good business, their net worth quickly exceeded 1 million in a few years. A small supermarket. That's right. Simply put, it's a better daily department store. Lin Xiao continued to say to his parents, "Dad, don't you have a comrade in arms who runs wholesale in the city? We can go to his place to pick up the goods. Then Mom is responsible for the cashier, reconciliation, and hiring 1 or 2 helpers to get things done." Lin Xiao's words made Lin Aijuan's expression somewhat moved, but he didn't agree. He pondered for a moment and said, "Let's discuss it with your mother tonight." Okay. Upon hearing these words, Lin Xiao was immediately delighted. Neither of his parents were the kind of people with particularly rigid minds, and he expected that the two of them would agree to this matter. That night, Lin Aijuan and his wife entered the room early, and Lin Xiao didn't know exactly what they talked about. However, when Lin Xiao woke up the next morning to have breakfast, Lin Aijuan indeed agreed. "Lin Xiao, after discussing with your mother, as you said, if we open a small supermarket, we can't spend our entire lives working hard." "Well, Dad, you're right to think that way." Seeing her parents agreeing to do business, Lin Xiaoli exclaimed happily. Upon hearing Lin Xiao's words, Lu Longjun immediately scolded and said, "You child, how can you talk to your father? Hee hee." Lin Xiao listened to the nagging that had annoyed him in his previous life, but now he felt incredibly friendly. After dinner, Lin Aijuan proposed to work at the construction site for another day and told the foreman that he would not do it again. However, he immediately faced opposition from Lin Xiao. According to his idea, since he had decided to do business, he would start immediately. Of course, there is also a reason why Lin Xiao doesn't want his parents to work that day of hard labor again. Lin Aijuan was moved by Lin Xiao's words that he had an early opportunity a day earlier and others might have made it later. However, he said he would personally go to the construction site and negotiate with the people, so he took Lu Longjun to the construction site, and Lin Xiao planned to take this opportunity to visit the storefront in Huaxia. The two of them arranged a time to meet at the bridgehead. After walking around Huaxia, Lin Xiao quickly took a liking to the place. In fact, there was no need to pick, he directly locked in the location of the small supermarket in his past life. Although this place is not the most central location like a vegetable market, it is not far away. It is located on the streets of Haofeng Township, and the largest villages in the township have to pass through here to reach the middle of Huaxia. What made Lin Xiao feel a bit strange was that although the location was good and the area was not small, each floor looked more than 200 square meters from the outside, with 3 floors, but the entire building was locked and unused. When Lin Aijuan and his wife returned from the construction site to explain, Lin Xiao finally found out that the house was originally from the village. It used to be a textile factory, but later closed down. Then let's go directly to the village and see who is in charge. After Lin Xiao finished speaking, Lu Longjun shook her head and said, "I'm going to the finance office, they're in charge." Finance office. Lin Xiao was stunned for a moment. That was the place where Lu Longjun used to work. Lu Longjun hesitated for a moment before saying, "Let's go to the finance office. I know a few more people, at least I can still talk." Lin Xiao and Lin Aijuan exchanged a glance, both of whom knew that being replaced back then had always been a thorn in Lu Longjun's heart, so she had not returned in these years. Lu Longjun led the way and the three of them arrived at the finance office. Just as she entered the door, a woman of the same age as Lu Longjun walked towards her. She had a long face and a haughty gaze. When she saw the three of them, she stopped walking outside and said in a strange tone, "Hey, isn't this Longjun? Why did she come back to the office when she had time?" Lin Xiaoman's discovery was that as the person spoke, Lu Longjun's face suddenly became somewhat unnatural. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Does this building sell? You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 4. Buying. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 4 by Selling. Upon hearing Lin Xiao's question, not only Li Xiao was stunned, but also Lin Yijuan and Lu Longjun. Li Xiao didn't answer and turned his head to look at Lin Yijuan and his wife. Obviously, he thought Lin Xiao was just a curious young man asking casually. Lin Yijuan and his wife looked at Lin Xiao and saw his serious expression before realizing that their son was really interested in buying. As soon as Lin Xiao thought about the whole thing, it was all Lin Xiao's suggestion. Lin Yijuan immediately followed suit and asked tentatively, directly, "Is this building for sale?" Li Xiao pondered for a moment before saying, "When the village mentioned renting, they also mentioned that if it were to be sold, such a large building would cost at least 60,000 yuan. 60,000. Lin Yijuan and his wife chuckled to themselves upon hearing this, which was too much. 60,000. Lin Xiao was overjoyed to hear that it was so cheap. With such a large building and a frame structure, in a few years, 60,000 yuan is probably only enough to cover one floor. If it weren't for spending tens of thousands of yuan all at once, it wouldn't be easy to explain to his parents. Lin Xiao even wished he could buy it right away. After Li Xiao finished talking about the price, he saw that Lin Yijuan and Lu Longjun had not spoken, so he didn't take it seriously. However, Lin Xiao said at this moment, directly, "Please wait a moment for my parents to discuss." Speaking, Lin Xiao pulled Lin Yijuan and Lu Longjun aside, while Li Xiao was completely stunned at this moment. Why, really want to buy? As the head of the finance department, Li Xiao has seen some money before and knows that some people have become wealthy, but no one has ever asked him to buy a building. He himself thinks that this building is too expensive. 60,000 yuan, many people in the village have not made this money in the past decade. On the other side, Lin Yijuan and Lu Longjun both looked at Lin Xiao with surprised faces and said, "Why are we buying such a big building? We can't even use up the rent, and we don't have so much money in our hands." "Dad, Mom, don't worry about the money. I'll still receive the money later. I'll talk to Mr. Li later." Lin Xiao paused for a moment and then said, "Moreover, there's no need to use it all up. Just put in more goods. If we don't buy it, there is actually a risk. Although we can sign a 3-year contract, what if someone sees redness and says they want to raise the price 1 year later? Or if we do well 3 years later, but they don't sign a contract with us?" Lin Xiao began to analyze the pros and cons with his parents in detail. With his explanation, Lin Yijuan and his wife, who were originally firmly opposed to purchasing, began to slowly accept it. In the end, the couple worked together. Anyway, it was all Lin Xiao's decision to do, so let's just listen to him again. The three reached a consensus and found Li Xiao again. "Directly, we want to buy this building." In Li Xiao's shocked eyes, Lin Xiao announced his decision and then said, "But regarding this payment, we want to pay in installments, starting with 10,000 yuan and paying the remaining 50,000 yuan in 6 months. Li Xiao frowned slightly upon hearing this, which was equivalent to lending 50,000 yuan to the other party for 6 months in vain, and he was about to speak. Lin Xiao had already continued, "For the past 6 months, we will pay rent at a rate of 500 per month. Oh. Li Xiao was a little moved when he heard this, which was equivalent to earning 3,000 yuan for nothing in 6 months. "I need to discuss this matter with the leaders in the village again." Li Xiao didn't agree at all. Lin Xiao didn't care either. He believed that the conditions he offered were so good that the village had no reason not to agree. After all, this building had been idle for several years. An hour later, Lin Yijuan and Li Xiao signed a handwritten agreement at the finance office, and the content naturally followed exactly what Lin Xiao said. "You guys are amazing," Li Xiao sighed as he escorted the three of them out of the finance office. Lin Yijuan and his wife politely said nothing, but their hearts were filled with joy. Some people praised Lin Xiao, which even made them happier than they thought about doing business next. Lin Xiao and the others left, while Li Xiao walked towards the office with a happy heart, carrying his back. In half a year, he will have another income, and it will be almost Chinese New Year. This money will be in time. Because of this, the village not only strongly agrees, but also praises him for handling it well. As soon as Lin Xiao entered the office, Chen Meifeng, who had been staring at him, immediately walked over. She had been staring at them all morning, but Lin Xiao and Lin Xiao had been walking together before, and she didn't know the specific situation. When she saw a few people leaving, she immediately came over and pretended to be curious, asking, "Director, Lu Longjun and his family really want to rent that building. Have they rented it yet?" Seeing Chen Meifeng, Lin Xiao's original good mood also faded a bit. This person has little ability, and before relying on having a backing, no one paid attention to it. Now this sharp and sarcastic demeanor is even more annoying. "No rent," Lin Xiao shook his head. Upon hearing this, Chen Meifeng immediately appeared with such a disdainful expression and said, "I'm telling you, how can they afford to rent such a large building? Renting it to do business would cost them a lot." Lin Xiao looked at Chen Meifeng's clown-like face, both angry and funny, and said meaningfully, "Others didn't rent it, but their family bought the entire building." Speaking, Lin Xiao ignored Chen Meifeng's stiff expression and walked straight upstairs. Bought it. Chen Meifeng stood still for a long time, without regaining her senses. It seems like this building was supposed to sell for 60,000 yuan. How can Lu Longjun and his family afford it? Chen Meifeng's heart was full of disbelief. 60,000 yuan, her annual salary was less than 6,000 yuan, and 10 years of not eating or drinking was not enough. Lu Longjun, who was replaced by herself, how could she get so much money? Originally, Chen Meifeng was still thinking whether Lin Xiao was deceiving her. After all, Lu Longjun was also considered a more capable person under Lin Xiao at that time. But half a day later, when rumors spread in both the office and the village that someone had spent 60,000 yuan to buy the building at the street corner, Chen Meifeng finally felt defeated. Why is it like this when you push the other person out on your own? After fixing the location, the Lin Xiao family immediately began to take action, with several things in front of them. Decoration, procurement, and recruitment. After all, it's a small supermarket in the village, so there's no need to make a big fuss about the decoration. According to Lin Xiao, just brush the walls, but Lin Xiao mentioned several other key points. One is the ground. The original floor of this building was made of cement, which naturally cannot be done. It needs to be tiled. Another aspect is lighting, which doesn't have to be like in later supermarkets where all cabinets come with lights. However, the lighting on the roof and walls still need to be guaranteed. Once you come in, it's pitch black and it's not easy to buy things. There is also the stacking platform and shelves. Lin Xiao's idea is to find a carpenter to make them, while Lin Xiao suggests that the stacking platform can be made of wood, but the shelves need to be customized by the manufacturer. Since we want to make them, we should also make them more fashionable. The first two are very easy to handle. As for the shelves, Lin Xiao suggested going to the city to buy them. Coincidentally, Lin Xiao had already contacted his comrades this morning about the issue of the supply of goods. The two of them immediately decided to finalize the decoration work first, and then go to the city to complete the shelves and procurement together. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Procurement Channels. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Procurement Channels. In the next 2 days, Lin Xiao and his family were all busy. Lu Longjun called a few people to go and clean up together. After all, this building has been idle for many years, and even if it needs to be renovated, it still needs to be cleaned up. Lin Xiao and Lin Xiao started to go to the county town to purchase, mainly to make the hard decoration tiles, coatings, lighting and other things good. As for the decoration personnel, because Lin Xiao has also met many people on the construction site in recent years, he quickly gathered everyone. Nowadays, the decoration masters are not as popular as those in later generations, and they have not yet reached the point of queuing up for the masters. All these things were prepared, and Lin Xiao explained the specific decoration requirements in detail. The decoration work was left to Lu Longjin to monitor, and the father and son went to the city together. The Haofeng township where Lin Xiao is located is 20 kilometers away from Xingsu County, and it is nearly 80 kilometers from Xingsu County to Gongjiang City. Fortunately, the Beijing-Kowloon Railway was just opened in the past 2 years, which happened to be able to take a train, avoiding the bumpy ride of 2 people on buses. However, even so, starting early in the morning and arriving in Gongjiang City, it was already over 10 o'clock in the morning. The trade market in Gongjiang City is not far from the train station. After getting off the train, the two of them headed straight to the trade market. Lin Aijuan's comrade in arms is named Chiu Mingqing and opened a wholesale department there. The two of them quickly found the wholesale department of Mingqing according to the address given by the other party before. Chiu Mingqing was right at the entrance of the store when he saw Lin Aijuan and his son appear. He immediately welcomed them with joy, and Lin Aijuan walked over almost 2 steps. A large army. Mingqing. The two men didn't make much intimate gestures. Although they just called out to each other and patted their arms, Lin Xiao still felt the deep affection between the two sides. In recent years, the relationship between those who have served in the military together is still very good. This is Lin Xiaoba. It's been a few years since we last saw each other. He's grown into a big boy now. At this moment, Chiu Mingqing turned around and patted Lin Xiao's shoulder. He has a typical Chinese character face, slightly lower in height than Lin Xiao and Lin Aijuan, and his voice is very loud. Cheng Shuheo. Lin Xiao politely called out. Chiu Mingqing had been at home before, but in recent years, he has been busy with business and has come less. However, when his mother fell ill and was hospitalized in the previous life, Lin Xiao remembered that Lin Aijuan had borrowed a lot of money from Chiu Mingqing for treatment, so Lin Xiao has always been grateful to him. A few people entered the wholesale department, and Lin Xiao looked around. Chiu Mingqing's wholesale department was not particularly large, after all, it was only for display, and most of the wholesale items were stored in the warehouse. Everything is quite complete, especially in the area of daily necessities, which are currently selling quite mainstream in the market. However, since my home runs a supermarket, it is obvious that the daily necessities alone are not enough. Dajuan, you finally figured out how to do some business. If you work hard every day, how much money can you earn? Chiu Mingqing said as he greeted the two of them to sit down. By the way, you said you're going to open a small supermarket over there, what kind of goods do you need to take? Upon hearing Chiu Mingqing's question, Lin Aijuan did not directly answer, but looked at Lin Xiao. Lin Xiao also knew that he didn't have much experience with Lin Aijuan in this area, and he had to make his own decisions before, so he took the initiative to speak up. Uncle Cheng, I see that you have a complete range of daily necessities here. Maybe you need to take some of the goods, but mainly some are relatively cheap and affordable. The consumption level of the villagers is not high, and of course, moderately priced items also need to be matched appropriately. Lin Xiao spoke up, but it left Chiu Mingqing stunned. He looked at Lin Aijuan and said, Dajuan, your little boy can handle it. This whole set of tricks. Upon hearing this, Lin Aijuan felt extremely proud and said, I have read some books. This time, opening a small supermarket was his idea. Chiu Mingqing was very interested and said to Lin Xiao, young man, it's okay. Uncle Cheng has various grades of daily necessities here. Lin Xiao smiled and continued, Uncle Cheng, do you have anyone familiar with food? There are also small appliances, stationery, office supplies, kitchen supplies, and so on. It seems that your small supermarket is not small either, Chiu Mingqing said before continuing. No problem, these things you mentioned are all available in this trading market. Although Uncle Cheng doesn't do these things, he is familiar with various wholesale departments. I will take you there later. Lin Xiao was overjoyed to hear this. They haven't started this small supermarket yet and are not familiar with the place. If they really want to search for it one by one, let alone how long it will take to gather everything. Just say you have found it, you may suffer some losses in terms of purchasing prices and other aspects. By the way, Uncle Cheng, do we need to settle the goods on the spot when we pick them up here? The payment method is naturally also of concern to Lin Xiao. With the 50,000 yuan allocated, according to Lin Xiao's budget, it would cost around 10,000 yuan for decoration and buying shelves. The remaining 30,000 yuan needs to be set aside for 5,000 working capital and 25,000 yuan for purchasing. Although the prices of goods are low these years, it is indeed possible to purchase a lot of goods, but it would be better to have more goods. Qiu Mingqing thought for a moment and said, if it's because of my relationship with the army, it's not a problem to sell the goods directly. However, since we're doing business, we can't break the rules too much. For me, if you take the goods, you can pay 50% and give a 1-month account term. For others, this is your first time taking the goods, so it's probably a bit difficult. I'll try to negotiate. Thank you, uncle. Lin Xiao nodded, pondering whether he could find another reason to take out some of the remaining money. He then asked another question of concern. Do you regularly deliver goods to the county? Yes. Qiu Mingqing replied, nowadays, there are also quite a few things needed in various counties. Sometimes we drive to our own stores to deliver, and sometimes we need less goods. Once we have a good connection, we can combine several stores to deliver. After listening, Lin Xiao said to Lin Aijuan, Dad, in that case, we just need to come here occasionally to see if there are any new products. We can call them and ask them to deliver the goods on a regular basis. Lin Aijuan nodded busily upon hearing this. Since the conversation between Lin Xiao and Qiu Mingqing, he has not interjected again, but he also knows that he has not been in contact with them. He took a small notebook and recorded all the conversations between Lin Xiao and Qiu Mingqing. For the next half of the day, Qiu Mingqing led Lin Xiao and Lin Aijuan around the trading market, starting to search for various products. Qiu Mingqing also introduced Lin Aijuan to various bosses, and it was natural that Lin Aijuan would be more suitable to come forward than Lin Xiao. Upon hearing that Lin Aijuan is planning to open a small supermarket and may need a lot of goods in the future, the various bosses are enthusiastic, especially those selling food and alcohol. They also know that the rural market is gradually expanding, so they attach great importance to it. By the end of this day, the goods had already been ordered in full. Based on the order calculation, Lin Xiao had spent nearly 20,000 yuan, but there was still some surplus. The main reason was that neither Qiu Mingqing or the food seller had requested full payment, which saved Lin Xiao some money. Lin Xiao didn't prepare to use all the remaining money. He went back to apply for a tobacco monopoly certificate and lit cigarettes. A supermarket in the village without cigarettes would definitely not do. By doing so, the goods are almost fully stocked, and we will gradually enrich them according to demand later on. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Queuing up to observe. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Queuing up to observe. When all the goods were ordered and the time was relatively late, coupled with the shelves not being bought yet, Lin Xiao and Lin Aijuan stayed in the hotel for the night. The issue of shelves is not complicated. The shelves used in Qiu Mingqing's store are the kind of supermarket shelves that Lin Xiao later saw, and they are sold in the neighboring market. The next morning, accompanied by Qiu Mingqing, Lin Aijuan went to the market to buy shelves. The sizes were measured by Lin Aijuan, but it wasn't necessarily necessary for Lin Xiao to go. Taking advantage of this gap, Lin Xiao went to do another thing. How to monetize 900,000 Xiangjiang coins is a question that Lin Xiao has been thinking about for a while. Of course, finding a bank to exchange is the best way, but for such a large amount of Xiangjiang coins, the bank will definitely pay attention to it, and he cannot explain the reason clearly. As for the scattered exchange, there are only a few banks in Xingsu County. Even if we go a little further to the city, there are not many. Going a few more times would obviously raise suspicion. And it's nearly 900,000 yuan, scattered exchanges. When do we need to exchange them? Lin Xiao has been thinking about it for a while, and the best way to avoid attracting attention is to go to Xiangjiang. Xiangjiang coin is the circulating currency of Xiangjiang, and it is obviously normal to see as many Xiangjiang coins there. Travel. After deciding to go to Xiangjiang, a thought came to Lin Xiao's mind. After graduating from high school, if he wants to travel to Xiangjiang, obtaining a pass should be a sufficient reason. In the previous life, Lin Xiao first applied for a pass in 12 years, although it took some time, it was not particularly complicated. When Lin Xiao went to Xingsu County to inquire about it, he found out that Xiangjiang has not opened up individual tours these years. If you want to apply for a visa to go to Xiangjiang, you must first find a tourist group. Upon further inquiry, travel agencies that want to carry out tourism group business to Xiangjiang must have the qualification for outbound tourism business, while there is no travel agency in Xingsu County that is qualified, and they can only go to the city to handle it. So after deciding to come to the city, Lin Xiao thought about handling this matter together, and brought all the documents and so on. Taking advantage of this morning, Lin Xiaohua signed up for a tour to Xiangjiang for 1,000 yuan and handed over all the procedures for obtaining the pass to the other party. However, after completing this set of procedures, it is estimated that it will also be August, and the travel date is August 10th. There are still more than 20 days left, and there is plenty of time. As long as the small supermarket opens normally, even if I leave, it won't be a problem. Lin Xiao managed to handle the group registration on his side, as well as the goods and shelves on the other side. Lin Xiao and his son stopped staying in Gongshi and rushed back to Xingsu County in the afternoon. On the supermarket side, the decoration has been in construction for 2 days, and the tiles on the first floor have been laid. The bricklayer is preparing to start laying the floor on the second floor, and the painter is also preparing to enter and start painting the walls on the first floor. Lin Xiao and his family naturally had no free time. Lin Aijuan began to go to various departments to apply for licenses, such as business licenses, health permits, tobacco monopoly, etc., while Lin Xiao and Lu Longjin stared at the decoration and began recruiting people. Haofeng Township is known for its odd number in the lunar calendar, which is the day when the market is held in Huaxia. On this day, when everyone arrives in Huaxia, some people who know the characters are immediately attracted by several prominent red paper job advertisements posted in prominent positions. Yongchang Supermarket is recruiting 2 clerks with elementary school education and a monthly salary of 300 yuan. Yongchang Supermarket was named after Lin Aijuan, symbolizing eternal prosperity. Lin Xiao didn't pay much attention to the name, so he used it directly. Lin Xiao posted an advertisement here, and the big number of 300 yuan immediately became the focus of everyone's attention. Do you know what kind of supermarket the building at the street corner that was bought for 60,000 yuan is going to be? It's recruiting people. You're talking about Yongchang Supermarket, right? I also saw the recruitment advertisement they posted, which costs 300 yuan per month. It's really fake. 300 yuan per month, the salary of village cadres is just that high. Really, you see that's all posted up. I just saw that many people have already passed by, let's go take a look quickly. Almost half a day had passed, and many places on the street were already being discussed. Many people who were rushing to the market on the street began to come to the intersection to watch the excitement, while some parents who were originally rushing to the market even rode their bikes back home to pick up their children. Lin Xiao originally had the idea of using recruitment to launch a wave of advertisements, but he never expected that this advertisement would attract so many people to come. Even though Lin Xiao was mentally prepared, he still underestimated the current situation. Some people have indeed made some money doing business outside these years, but overall, in underdeveloped inland areas like Xingsu County, people's income is still low. When they hear that they can earn 300 yuan by working at their doorstep, they are all moved. You should know that due to the underdevelopment of the entire area, many formal cadres in the village only receive this income, and sometimes they cannot even pay their salaries. In addition, just during the summer vacation, many people know that high school is not a good time after taking the exam, and they have not yet found a place to go out to work. Seeing the novelty, they all come to inquire about it. For a moment, people were coming and going in front of the unopened supermarket, and those who came to inquire and watch the excitement were not very lively. Lin Xiao saw that since there were so many people coming, she decided to do more advertising and set up a table at the entrance to queue up all those who came to inquire about the situation. Then she pulled Lu Longjun along and prepared to interview the applicants. When it comes to an interview, it's actually just a few simple questions. Lin Xiao didn't have the intention of choosing the most beautiful one in the beauty pageant, but just hoped to choose two clever and quick to do things. So the questions usually include, what is your name? Where do you live? What do you do at home? What do you do if someone else can't find something to buy, and so on. However, even so, for some newly graduated middle school girls, there is still a lot of tension. Even some girls blush when Lin Xiao asks a question. It's not a case of being a flower lover, it's just a natural reaction of middle school students to seeing outstanding opposite sex in this era. To be honest, Lin Xiao is indeed the most beautiful guy on the whole street at this time. These days, boys still have a trend towards slightly longer hair, with various sizes ranging from medium to medium. Lin Xiao used to have a hair size of 3 or 7, which made later generations accustomed to his refreshing and short hair feel uncomfortable. So after signing up for a tour group in the city, he specifically found a hair salon and personally ordered a short haircut. Moreover, many of the clothes and fabrics worn in his hometown these days are quite rough, and Lin Xiao is really not used to them. So he bought a few sets of sportswear and sneakers. Lin Xiao, who is already tall and handsome, wore a trendy sportswear and had a refreshing hairstyle. In the eyes of young girls in this era, her energetic and sunny image was naturally very destructive. Because there were so many people coming, Lin Xiao also had a choice. In the end, he had originally planned to recruit only 2 people, but he recruited 3 of them. He also made an agreement with the other party that if he did well, all 3 would stay. If someone did not do well, he would settle the bill and leave after a month. This is also something that Lin Xiao suddenly remembered when recruiting. After all, competition is what motivates them. With such an elimination mechanism here, they will also be more focused on doing it. The fact proved that Lin Xiao's decision was very correct. In the next few days, the 3 girls came to the supermarket very diligently, which made Lu Longjun much more relaxed. In addition to recruiting suitable people, Lin Xiao's recruitment campaign was also very successful. Although the supermarket has not yet opened, many people in the village already know that it is necessary to open a supermarket here, which has become a topic of discussion among villagers after dinner. Of course, this is a good thing. Lin Xiao took the opportunity to make more of a splash and made a large spray painting at the county advertising company, which read, "Yongchang Supermarket is about to open grandly," and hung it on the wall next to the door. For a moment, people passing by here have to stop and take a few glances. The supermarket hasn't opened yet, but this gimmick has already been fully utilized. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Opening. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Opening. On the 6th day of Lin Xiaopan's entire building, the decoration of the first floor, including the walls and lighting, was completed. We arranged for the installation of shelves the next day, and it was almost 8 o'clock when the family returned home. Although Lin Xiao has been tired these past few days, he can clearly feel the radiance on the faces of Lin Aijuan and Lu Longjun, which is the inner and outer energy brought by the hope for the future in his heart. It is obvious that everyone's attention these days has also been noticed by them, which has strengthened the hearts of those who were originally a bit nervous. Ding Lingling. The phone rang at this moment, and Lin Xiao walked over to pick it up. Suddenly, there was a shout on the other side of the phone. "Lin Xiao, you finally answered the phone. I called several times and even went to your house to find you, but couldn't find anyone. Upon hearing this sound, Lin Xiao was stunned and immediately reacted. Deji. This voice is familiar to Lin Xiao, and even 2 days before his rebirth, he had seen each other. My loyal friend Wang Ji. Wang Ji was a close friend of Lin Xiao from middle school to high school. Although they didn't go to college together, their connection remained unbroken and they often got together after work. If Lin Xiao were to choose the person with the best relationship besides his parents, he would undoubtedly choose this close friend who would chat and fart with him during his most difficult times, and lend money to him without telling his wife. Even 2 days before his rebirth, he had seen each other and had dinner together. Just as Lin Xiao was thinking this way, a voice came back from the other end of the phone. Of course it's me. Where have you been these days? Busy in Huaxia, my family is planning to do some business on the street and open a supermarket. Just as Lin Xiao mentioned this, Wang Ji immediately shouted, wow, what you're saying doesn't mean it's the Yongchang supermarket, right? Yes. Lin Xiao said truthfully. There was a silence on the other end of the phone for a while before 2 words came. Bull fork. I wonder why I haven't seen you in the past few days. Upon hearing Wang Ji's words, Lin Xiao thought that on the day of the opening, there might only be a few people on his own, so he immediately said, Deji, the opening is coming in a few days, so I don't think I can be busy. Are you available? Come to the supermarket to help for a few days. No problem, Wang Ji agreed without hesitation on the other end of the phone. I'll come over to your place early tomorrow morning. I just heard them say I haven't been there yet. Upon hearing this, Lin Xiao immediately laughed and said, that's perfect. We'll start moving the shelves tomorrow and we'll need some coolies. Damn it, I see you had this idea. You can move the shelves, 500 yuan per day. Then you should stay at home, I can't afford it. After chatting a few more words and hanging up the phone, Lin Xiao suddenly felt a strange feeling. A few days after his rebirth, although his body was the body of a young person, he still regarded himself as a middle-aged person in his entire heart, especially when he was thinking about opening a supermarket and Xiangjiang coins, all of which were done according to the thinking of a middle-aged person. But until now, after chatting and farting with Wang Ji, he suddenly realized that he had returned to his youth. This youthful feeling makes him feel quite good. It also increased Lin Xiao's expectations for meeting with his close allies. Wang Ji arrived very early the next day. Just as Lin Xiao had finished breakfast, Wang Ji's shouts rang out in the yard. Lin Xiao. Upon hearing the shout, Lin Xiao looked up and saw the greasy middle-aged man with a beer belly suddenly transform into a black, thin, and youthful boy. Especially after a few days, the stark contrast left Lin Xiao stunned and then burst into laughter. It is said that time is the feed for pigs, but it is true. I'm afraid Wang Ji would never have thought that he would gain that virtue in 20 years. But later on, due to gaining weight, it seemed that the other person wasn't as black as they look now. What are you laughing at? Lin Xiao's laughter left Wang Ji somewhat puzzled. Lin Xiao couldn't explain without an explanation. He walked up to his close friend and wrapped his arms around their shoulder, his tone fluctuating with emotion. Daji, it's great. We're meeting again. Why do you sound so awkward? Didn't we just meet when we estimated the score a few days ago? It's just that you left early later, and I didn't see you either. Wang Ji reached out and pushed Lin Xiao's arm away, looking strange. Lin Xiao shook his head and smiled, but didn't speak again. At this moment, Lin Ijuan and his wife came out, and Wang Ji greeted them without asking Lin Xiao again. The 4 of them came to the town again. With Wang Ji joining, the team grew even stronger, especially after the shelves arrived. With a few people working together, the work was much faster. In a day, all the shelves were already installed. While others were cleaning and setting up shelves, Lin Xiao began to make simple drawings and arrangements for the entire supermarket product display. Lin Xiao is not a professional in this field, but he has never seen pork or pigs running, so he still has a rough idea. The whole building, the first and second floors are intended for selling goods, while the third floor is used as a warehouse. Although it may be tiring to move goods in this way, there is no way to use a good location like the first and second floors as a warehouse. The first floor is the most important location and naturally displays the most popular products, including various foods, drinks, kitchen seasonings, daily necessities, toiletries, stationery, and so on. The second floor is used to sell small household appliances, kitchen utensils such as pots and pans, bedding, clothes, shoes, and so on. Clothes and shoes are not Lin Xiao's main products. After all, there are many of them sold in Huaxia, which is also very convenient. However, since it is a supermarket, the variety of goods still needs to be relatively complete, and coupled with the fact that the second floor is also so large, so they are all on the shelves. Having decided to put these things on the first floor, Lin Xiao began to consider some finer things. The food should be placed closer to the door, the kitchen seasoning should be in a separate area, some wine can be placed inside, and loose items should be placed on the stacking table. Taking these things into consideration, Lin Xiao began to categorize the goods one by one based on the purchase order, and wrote out a list of goods arranged one by one. Lin Xiao needs to consider these tasks beforehand. He doesn't expect that when placing things, everyone is shouting at him, "Lin Xiao, where should I put this thing?" Of course, Lin Xiao also knows that this situation cannot be avoided. On the one hand, he is not a professional himself, and there may be omissions in his considerations. On the other hand, when it comes to how to arrange it, except for himself, no one else has a concept, and he will inevitably have to teach it hand in hand. In addition to arranging the distribution of goods, Lin Xiao also began to divide labor among personnel to prepare for the entry and official opening of goods. Considering the lack of a supermarket settlement system and the reliance on manual checkout, Lin Xiao decided to have himself and Lu Longjin responsible for the cashier on the day of opening. There are many products on the first floor, and they are also relatively more popular. There are 2 female employees and Wang Ji on the first floor, and 1 female employee on the second floor. Lin Ijuan is mobile. The reason why Lin Ijuan was allowed to maneuver was that Lin Xiao hoped his father could take this opportunity to observe more and become more adept at running this supermarket in the future. Lin Xiao explained to everyone that after all the goods arrived, they would start placing the goods according to this division of labor, and then be responsible for guiding sales according to this division of labor after opening. Because the decoration was not complicated, on the 12th day after the completion of the entire building, all the decoration and shelf installation were completed, and the goods had already started to arrive 2 days ago. Lin Xiao began another round of hype while directing everyone to arrange the goods, making the final promotion for the upcoming opening. This day was once again the day of the market, and the people of Haofeng Township suddenly noticed that someone was handing out flyers to them while they were on the street. Flyers have become popular in coastal areas and are not uncommon, but it is the first time they have been seen in this small town. So the person who receives the flyer will not simply throw it away like in later generations. There are many illiterate people in the village, but there are also many who can read. Soon, news about the opening of Yongchang supermarket began to ferment in the village. Did you hear about it? There will be a lucky draw when Yongchang supermarket opens. I heard that you can draw for 10 yuan, up to 50 yuan. And this thing is also cheap. Look at this laundry detergent, it's 20 cents cheaper per bag. Lottery, even in later generations, is a marketing strategy that has never been satisfactory. When used in rural areas these days, the promotional effect is immediately remarkable. Moreover, Lin Xiao did not use any products as prizes, but instead used cash to stimulate everyone's nerves. The first prize is 50 yuan for 2, the second prize is 20 yuan for 5, the third prize is 10 yuan for 10, the fourth prize is 5 yuan for 20, and the fifth prize is 2 yuan for 50. The money is not too much, and the quantity is not particularly large, but in Lin Xiao's opinion, this is already enough. The lottery is just a gimmick, just to attract people to enter the store to cooperate with the opening. As long as there is a group of people entering the store, the herd mentality will make others follow suit. When everyone comes in and sees that the prices of their supermarket products are lower than those of others, and there are many people buying things, they will naturally be tempted. The so-called consumption impulse is not only present in later generations, but nowadays, as long as consumption is within people's affordability, it can also stimulate consumption impulse. With another wave of overwhelming promotional flyers, the news of Yongchang's supermarket's opening began to spread through the entire township. After going through 3 waves of promotion, buying a house for 60,000 yuan, hiring a clerk for 300 yuan, and opening a lottery, Yongchang Supermarket, although not yet open, has become a household name in the village. The supermarket has also officially opened. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Explosive. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 8 Explosive. The opening time of the supermarket has been officially set for 8:09 a.m. on July 25, with the date set by Lin Xiao and the time set by Lin Xiao. According to Lin Xiao, this time is auspicious. Lin Xiao and others arrived at the store at 6:30 a.m. to make final preparations for the opening. I expected a large number of people, but Lin Xiao and others did not anticipate that there would be so many people. By 8 o'clock in the morning, the firecrackers had not yet been fired, but many people had already gathered at the entrance, and even many were preparing to enter the supermarket. Looking at the surging crowd, Lin Xiao had the idea for the first time whether he would promote too aggressively. At 8:09, the firecrackers rang out on time, and as Lin Xiao and others cleared the door, people who had been waiting outside flocked in. "Boss, where is your laundry detergent?" "Boss, I want to buy a box of beer." "Boss, how much does this candy cost per kilogram? Can it be cheaper?" Lin Xiao did all the work in advance in detail, such as pricing and classification. But what he never expected was that the villagers did not have the awareness of independent shopping. After customers rushed into the supermarket, they did not immediately go shopping, but gathered at the entrance and began to ask questions. One person took the lead, and the others followed suit, shouting loudly, causing everyone to crowd at the door. Lin Xiao quickly picked up the prepared loudspeaker and shouted, "Don't crowd at the door, everyone. This is a supermarket, and everything is sorted and placed very well. Let's walk inside and see what we want to buy first. There are guides inside, and if you can't find them, you can ask. Also, everything has a price tag." With Lin Xiao's shout, the crowd began to walk towards the supermarket. Especially for those who bring students, who are literate, they start paying attention to the signs in the supermarket and then guide their families to different areas. Some people who originally had no clear shopping goals began to wander around the supermarket. A supermarket with an area of 230 square meters per floor may not be considered very large in later generations, but in these days, it appears very large in rural areas. In no time, sighs echoed into Lin Xiao's ears. This supermarket is quite big. There are also some upstairs. Let's go take a look. And everything is fine, he has everything he needs to eat here. This laundry detergent is really 20 cents cheaper. Later on, Lin Xiao didn't pay attention because some people who were quick to start and rushed to the lottery had already started coming to settle the bill. The first person to pay the bill is on Lin Xiao's side. He bought a box of beer and some daily necessities, totaling over 40 yuan. As soon as he finished paying the bill, he couldn't wait to ask, "Where is the lottery?" Lin Xiao pointed to the lottery box on the table, and the person immediately reached inside to draw. The lottery tickets for the supermarket were specially made by Lin Xiao in the county using hard paper shells, which made it less difficult to stick together and get a few tickets. His original idea was to directly hang red envelopes on the wall like in later generations, but the space was too limited to display. 10 yuan. After pulling it out, the person saw that it was 10 yuan and immediately shouted with a little excitement. Taking advantage of the opportunity to create momentum, no one knows how to do it. Lin Xiao immediately followed suit and shouted, "Oh my, I'm lucky. I just drew 10 yuan." As he spoke, Lin Xiao took out 10 yuan and handed it over. The person immediately picked it up with joy and said, "Yes, yes." As soon as I heard that someone had already won the lottery at the doorstep, the speed of these customers who were originally buying things noticeably accelerated. There were also many who wanted to rush to the lottery. Although Lin Xiao had anticipated that the checkout would be a bit troublesome and arranged for 2 people, when he actually started operating, he found that both of them were still too busy. These days, the efficiency of settlement is not very good. Everyone has to first use a calculator to calculate the price, and then collect money for change. Therefore, after a short while, there is a queue for checkout at the gate. Chen Meifeng has been paying attention to the movements of Lin Xiao's family these days. At first, she was not clear about what Lin Xiao and others were going to do. When the recruitment of shop assistants came out, she realized that this was to open a supermarket. What is a supermarket like? Isn't it just a larger grocery store? Chen Meifeng quickly sneered. In her opinion, just like this, a grocery store needs to hire 2 people, and the 300 yuan offered is not inferior to her salary. I can't even earn a helper's salary. Chen Meifeng felt a sense of unease in her heart, and soon in her heart, she sentenced the Lin Xiao family to death for this business. As for later, when she saw the advertisement in the flyer, she found it even more ridiculous. This round of lottery adds up to 500 yuan. If you don't do something good with this 500 yuan, you can even take it out for the lottery, and others won't spend money to buy lottery tickets. Lu Longjin's family is afraid of losing so much that they won't even have any shorts left. With a mentality of gloating and watching jokes, Chen Meifeng arrived at the entrance of Yongchang's supermarket early and saw many people waiting outside, wanting to enter the supermarket. This surprised Chen Meifeng a little, but she quickly felt relieved. What's wrong with the large number of people? They can't just join in the fun. Although she came, she was determined not to spend a penny buying things there. Until everyone crowded into the supermarket, Chen Meifeng stood at the entrance of the supermarket and suddenly looked very abrupt. She could only walk slightly off the corner and watch. She didn't know the specific situation in the supermarket, so when she first saw Lu Longjin and Lin Xiao standing at the door, doing nothing, she immediately felt very amused. No one was buying anything. But soon, someone came to check out and buy something. Chen Meifeng saw with her own eyes that the person had pulled out 100 yuan, and then Lin Xiao changed some money. Because Chen Meifeng also knew this person, she immediately approached and asked how much she had bought. The answer was 42 yuan, and she drew 10 yuan. I didn't buy much either, and I also took away 10 yuan. This order must have been a loss. Chen Meifeng calculated again. After all, she still stayed in the finance department for a period of time, so she was able to calculate the accounts. But then she realized something was wrong. There was a long queue at the checkout, and she even counted. In less than an hour, there were over 100 people checking out. What surprised Chen Meifeng even more was that people were still flocking to the supermarket, and there was no trend of a decrease in foot traffic. She was just making such a preliminary estimate, which immediately startled her. How much money should I charge for this day? She, who was originally gloating, couldn't feel happy anymore. Just then, Chen Meifeng saw her son walking towards this direction, clearly looking like she was going to the supermarket. Ah Xiang, what are you going for? Go to the supermarket, Mom. They all said there's so much inside, let's go too. Where are you going? There's nothing to buy inside, let's go home. Chen Meifeng angrily pulled her son back. Why, their business is so good, why can't I go take a look? Listening to her own son's words, Chen Meifeng felt even more irritable in her chest and began to scold loudly. No one in Lin Xiao's family noticed this scene because they really didn't have time, there were too many people. The door opened in the morning, only those who were closer arrived. As time passed, some people who lived far away also came to the market one after another. Some people came straight to the supermarket, while others heard the grand opening and joined in the fun. So even though the people who bought things have already left, the flow of people in the supermarket has not decreased at all. As time passed by 11 o'clock, due to the hot weather, the number of talents began to gradually decrease. However, new problems have also begun to emerge. Boss Lin, the laundry detergent is sold out. There aren't many boxes of beer left. There isn't much ice left in the refrigerator. Some popular products are actually out of stock. Could you please bookmark it, all book friends? Thank you. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Putting Money in Sacks. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Putting Money in Sacks. As soon as Lin Xiao saw this situation and the number of people in the supermarket began to gradually decrease, he handed over the bill to his mother Lu Longjun alone and immediately went to the warehouse with Lin Xiao to start counting goods. Quickly sort out the new purchase order. Lin Xiao immediately called Qiu Mingcheng and other bosses, asking them to quickly replenish a batch of goods. Because the store had not yet counted the accounts, Lin Xiao didn't have time to make money. However, when several bosses heard that the goods were out of stock and had connections with Qiu Mingcheng, they all expressed that they could send the goods over immediately. Who wouldn't want to make money? The earliest restocking can arrive is in the afternoon of the same day, although it's a bit late, it's better than never. According to Lin Xiao's estimation, there may be fewer people in the hot weather at noon and afternoon, but in the evening, there may be a small peak, especially for those who live nearby and have heard about the situation. The fact also proved that Lin Xiao's guess was correct, but what he guessed slightly wrong was that even in the middle of the day and afternoon, many people came, most of whom were primary and secondary school students. When he heard about the situation in the village, many people clamored for a few yuan at home and came to buy things. By around 5 p.m., when the goods from Gongshi arrived, Lin Xiao and others breathed a sigh of relief. If the goods didn't arrive, they would indeed run out of stock. At this point, there are only 2 boxes of beer left, and there is still some food left, which is basically running out. In the evening, as expected by Lin Xiao, another wave of people returned to the supermarket one after another, mainly adults who bought cigarettes and alcohol. By around 7 o'clock, there shouldn't be too many people around. Lin Xiao asked a female clerk who lived nearby to go back first, while the other 2 stayed directly in the store because they lived far away. At that time, when renovating, we deliberately separated 2 rooms on the 3rd floor for the store staff to stay in, and another room on the 2nd floor for Lin Xiao's family to rest in. Da Ji, why don't you go back first and continue to help in the next 2 days? Having arranged for a shop assistant, Lin Xiao said to Wang Ji that he didn't come back so quickly himself. On the first day of opening, he naturally had to do an inventory of his income. Didn't you go to school to apply for college tomorrow? You forgot. Wang Ji said strangely after listening to Lin Xiao's words. Cough, I've really forgotten these past few days, Lin Xiao pretended to pat his head and said. In fact, in Lin Xiao's heart, he kept muttering, cough, buddy, if you don't tell me, I really don't know about this. I'll come find you tomorrow morning. Wang Ji was about to leave when Lin Xiao quickly called out to him. What are you doing? Wang Ji looked at Lin Xiao as he brought a cigarette and a few packets of food, and suddenly asked with some displeasure. Lin Xiaotai knew the nature of her close friend, so she put the things in a bag and stuffed them into the other person's hand. I know you're here to help, but if you want to give you money, you won't accept it. These are for your parents. I'll open a shop and get them something to eat. That's understandable, right? Wang Ji didn't speak and took the things over. Inside the shop, Mr. and Mrs. Lin Xiao watched this scene and exchanged a glance, their eyes filled with relief. By the way, Da Ji, early tomorrow, catch the bus. Don't ride a bike. What kind of bike to ride? Take the shuttle bus, rush the time. Lin Xiao doesn't want to ride a bicycle for over an hour, it only takes 3 hours to go back and forth. The supermarket has just opened, so she still needs to come back early to take care of herself. Everyone else arranged for it one after another, and by 8 p.m., it was already completely dark. Lin Xiao and his family closed the supermarket door and began counting the day's income. These days, compared to later generations, there are still fewer people coming out of Huaxia at night. Looking at the pile of money in front of them, Lin Xiao and Lu Longjun had a glimmer in their eyes. Before the opening, although their nervousness had subsided due to the attention they received during the renovation, it wasn't until this moment that their nervousness completely dissipated. After all, the money was visible and tangible in front of them. And it wasn't until it wasn't busy that they saw so much money that they truly realized how good the business was on that day. The three of them immediately separated and began counting. First, they counted 100 yuan, then 10 yuan, 5 yuan, and there were also many corner tickets. Fortunately, when there were fewer people at noon, Lin Xiao and her son had already started to sort and stack them, each in a stack of 10 sheets. At this point, only a few scattered pieces were left, and a slight stack was enough to start counting the quantity. There are 68 out of 100. Lu Longjun reported the number, and Lin Xiao immediately pressed the number 6,800 on the calculator. A lot of 10 yuan, there are 657 sheets. Lin Xiao and Lu Longjun teamed up and counted out the 10 yuan first. Upon hearing this, Lin Xiao almost trembled as he pressed down the number and added a 6570, which was over 13,000. The amount of 1 yuan and a few cents is also quite large, and it took 3 people a lot of time to finish counting. The total is 722.6 yuan. Lin Xiao and Lu Longjun stared at the calculator together, reciting while starting to press, 6008 plus 6507, plus 720.2 yuan 6, the total is 14,270.2 yuan 6 cents. 14,272.6, looking at the numbers on the calculator, Lin Xiao and Lu Longjun were both stunned. This money is too much. Supermarkets in this era do not have as thin profits as later generations. They are priced at around 30% profit. Based on this calculation, they made over 4,200 yuan in one day. Looking at this number, Lin Xiao also felt a bit surprised. However, he didn't stop and immediately smiled and said, "Dad, Mom, don't look at it. This money is all real." Lin Xiao's words brought Lin Xiao and his wife back to their senses, and their faces were immediately filled with both satisfied and excited smiles. Of course, there are promotions and reasons for opening on the first day, but such sales have already shown that this business has been successful. If there were so many every day, that would be great. Lin Xiao let out a long sigh and was immediately taken aback by Lu Longjun. "I see you're crazy about money. With so much money every day, we can earn over 100,000 yuan a month, which would scare you to death." Lin Xiao smiled and said, "Mom, it's naturally impossible to earn so much every day, but from now on, the average daily income will be 1/10, so it shouldn't be a problem." After listening, Lu Longjun's eyes immediately lit up and she quickly started pressing in the calculator. "If we have a stable income of 1/10 every day, we can earn 420 yuan per day and nearly 13,000 yuan per month. Excluding employee salaries and other expenses, there will always be around 9,000 to 10,000 yuan. Then we can recoup the money spent on buying a property within 6 months." Counting this, Lu Longjun and Lin Xiao exchanged a glance, both of whom couldn't hide their excitement. They were worried about what to do with the remaining 50,000 yuan in a year. After calculating this, they could repay it in less than half a year, and then make a pure profit. Lin Xiao chuckled and said, "That's right, so, Dad, you are truly Mr. Lin. Mom, you are the boss's wife. Go, you child, you're making fun of your parents," Lu Longjun muttered, with an indescribable smile in her eyes. "All right, it's getting late. Let's go home too. Lin Xiao said, looking at the pile of money on the table again, we need to take it home and deposit it in the bank tomorrow to pay for a few bosses. Take a burlap bag and put it in. Lin Xiao immediately found a burlap bag to load the goods, put the money in it, and surprisingly put a small burlap bag in it. A family carrying small sacks of money, accompanied by Starlight, finished work and went home. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Dramatic Events. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Dramatic Events. After Wang Ji reminded him to fill out his application the next day, Lin Xiao returned home and began to seriously consider this matter. The college entrance examination in 1998 was not like later generations where scores were first given before filling out preferences, but instead relied on estimated scores to fill out preferences. My estimated score in my previous life was around 500 points, which matched my usual exam scores. At that time, this score could only be applied to a general university in the province. So in the next 4 years, I spent a mediocre college life in that mediocre university, perhaps laying the groundwork for my later mediocre life. However, in reality, I performed exceptionally well in this year's college entrance examination and achieved a score of 553 points. Although this score may seem high, it was not possible to attend some non-popular 211 majors. Of course, with the advantage of being a reborn person, the choice of school and major to attend is no longer the most important. However, it still depends on which city to go to, at least choosing a suitable place for one's own entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is an inevitable choice. Do you want to start again and work? Impossible. Yanjing. Pearl. Pengcheng. Lin Xiao continues to work hard to search for some small pieces of information in his memory about applying for the college entrance examination, hoping to have more effective information to help him make better choices. Upon careful consideration, Lin Xiao vaguely remembered a sensational event at the school back then. The Xingsu County No. 2 Middle School where Lin Xiao is located is a key high school, and the annual college entrance examination results in the county are also classified as 1 under 2. The most sensational event in the college entrance examination back then was when a science student was admitted to Tsinghua University. In addition to this incident, another thing in Lin Xiao's memory appeared even more dramatic. There is a male classmate named Chen Yongming in the class. His estimated score for the college entrance examination was not very high back then, and he was very dissatisfied with this score. He planned to repeat his studies, so when filling out his preferences, he also casually chose Yanjing University of Technology. At that time, it was unknown why Chen Yongming filled Lin Xiao's name like this. Perhaps it was because he thought this school was very powerful in Yanjing, and a science and engineering school like a liberal arts student would definitely not work, or perhaps for some other reason. The later result was that Chen Yongming's score was actually more than 20 points higher than the estimated score. In the same year, Yanjing University of Technology's admission to Jiangsu Province had a very high score in science and engineering, but due to the small number of applicants, the admission score in humanities was relatively low. Chen Yongming was actually admitted. What's even more dramatic is that Chen Yongming was determined to take the entrance exam for a school with a strong liberal arts background, so he chose to repeat his studies. However, his performance deteriorated the following year and he only managed to get into a second-tier university. This matter was later discussed many times by classmates in the class, and it was said to have even become a negative lesson for younger students. Therefore, even after a long time, Lin Xiao still remembered it. Lin Xiao had forgotten how many points Chen Yongming had scored, but he remembered that the other party's score was not as high as his own. If that's the case, does it mean that if you apply to Yanjing University of Technology, you are completely likely to be admitted? Lin Xiao wouldn't just think that humanities students can't go to science and engineering schools. Since that's the case, isn't it good to choose a prestigious school? Even if it was just to make his parents happy, it was enough for Lin Xiao to try. Moreover, this school is located in Zhongguancun, Yanjing, and is also a gathering area for universities. If you want to start a business in the future, at least you don't have to worry too much about talent issues. Since we're going to Yanjing, it's best to also bring Wang Ji to Yanjing. Lin Xiao began to recall Wang Ji's situation. Both of them studied humanities and science in high school, but overall, their grades were similar. In his previous life, unlike his exceptional performance in the college entrance examination, Wang Ji failed to perform well in the exam, resulting in not being admitted to his first-choice undergraduate program, which led to his later admission to a vocational college. However, Wang Ji has always been very good at mathematics. Later, he studied computer science and entered the IT industry to work in technology, doing better than himself, but he cannot be considered outstanding. In this life, it is necessary to bring brothers together to develop. With this idea in mind, Lin Xiaoli began to persuade Wang Ji the next morning when they were waiting for a car on the street. "Daji, my first choice may be Yanjing University of Technology. Yanjing Institute of Technology." Perhaps the news came too suddenly, leaving Wang Ji stunned. "Yanjing University of Technology is a prestigious university, can you get your grades?" Lin Xiao also couldn't tell the other party that he knew the score accurately, so he could only answer. "I have carefully estimated these past few days, and my score may be good, like 540 or 550. Although Yanjing University of Technology is a prestigious university, its most famous discipline is science and engineering. If I apply for a humanities major, it would be completely interesting." "Do you estimate so high?" Wang Ji listened with envy on his face. Then, he asked in confusion, "Why did you go to Yanjing University of Technology? You know, their humanities major is not that good." Lin Xiao couldn't explain the specific reason to Wang Ji, but it's not difficult to find a reason, he explained. Major is not the only factor, and the school itself is also crucial. In addition, the city where the school is located has more development opportunities in Yanjing. "Daji, don't you want to go to a big city to see the world?" Lin Xiao thought for a moment and then said, "How about this? My second choice is to choose a vocational college in Hongdu, and your second choice is to choose a vocational college in Yanjing. If either of us fails to be admitted to our first choice, we may still go to university in the same city." Wang Ji looked at Lin Xiao, his face no longer showing the indifferent expression from his previous casual conversation, but he looked at Lin Xiao seriously and asked, "Are you serious about what you said?" "Of course." Lin Xiao nodded, but he lied a little here. His second choice was actually to fill a school in Yanjing. Wang Ji remained silent for a moment. It was obvious that for him, who had just graduated from high school and had not had much social experience, facing this sudden choice was extremely difficult. "Daji, the opportunities in big cities like Yanjing are not comparable to those in our provincial capital, Hongdu. Besides, it's just a second choice. Don't you still have your first choice?" Lin Xiao continued to persuade, but Wang Ji felt that it made sense. It was just his second choice, so he nodded and said, "Okay then." Immediately, Wang Ji took the application guide in Lin Xiao's hand and carefully read it. After discussing it for a while, the two of them finally decided to apply for Yanjing Information Technology Vocational College as their second choice. The two of them arrived at Xingsu County No. 2 Middle School in a car, because one was a liberal arts and the other was a science. After entering the teaching building, they each went to their own classrooms. After all, after staying here for 3 years, Lin Xiao found his classroom in class 3-2, based on his impression. At this time, the classroom was already very lively, and although everyone was sitting in their seats, they were all chatting and chatting. These green faces are somewhat familiar, but many of them can no longer be named. However, it was not so difficult for Lin Xiao to find someone to remember his name. Lin Xiao quickly fixed his gaze on Chen Yongming sitting in the middle of the third row. "Chen Yongming." Lin Xiao took the initiative to walk over and greeted the other person. Some things still need to be confirmed again. End of this chapter.